Welcome all, a very good morning to you, our roasters and porters and consumers, both here in Australia and our neighbours across the ditch over in New Zealand, to our live stream, Coffees in Peru, Flavours of Altitude. Thank you for being part of this experience, and we want to take you on a very special sensory journey to experience what Peruvian coffee has to offer. In the next hour, we have a number of speakers to talk to you about their work and relationship with coffees in Peru. These guys literally live and breathe Peruvian coffee every day. From the people in the plantations themselves, to our owners in the roasting houses in Melbourne and New Zealand, to a live cupping session down in Melbourne where you get to taste the product yourselves. Now, over to your right here, my left, you should see a little Q&A platform, a chat function. Please use it. We've got a few things we're going to have in this session, such as a Q&A, where you can ask any questions. A few questions at the end I'll ask to the most relevant speakers, where you get to ask them to our actual board. And then, of course, we've got a little competition where you could win a bag of coffee beans. Now, what makes Peruvian coffee so unique? Coffees from Peru are cultivated at elevations more than 1,200 metres above sea level, where it finds the right soils, the right slops, and the right humidity levels to produce that high quality coffee bean. In this session, we're giving away a 1 kilogram bag of Típica Bourbon green coffee beans with a score of 88. The San Cristobal is a washed bean grown at 250 metres above sea level and comes from the Santa Teresa region. It is then set in chima yeast for 24 hours fermentation. Now, to win this bag of coffee, you must be the first to answer what 4 coffees are produced in Peru. When you know the answer, simply write it in the Q&A bar over to the side, and we'll give that bag of coffee to the person at the end. Remember, we'll need your address, and of course, if you haven't registered for the event, please do so. Remember what 4 coffees are produced in Peru, what beans. Here in Sydney studio with me today, we have Mario Vargas, who is the Trade Commissioner between Peru and Australia and New Zealand. Mario is a passionate coffee enthusiast with interest to encourage women in the coffee cooperatives. He represents POM Peru and is based in Sydney. These days, Mario, we've actually got him in the studio now, so I'm going to welcome Mario in. Very warm welcome.
Hello,
to chat
Robert.
to you about. How are you this morning?
Good, very good.
Good. So I'm going to leave you with Mario for an industry update of what's currently happening with coffee in Peru.
Thank you, Robert. Hello, everyone. My name is Mario Vargas, and I am the Trade Commissioner to Australia and New Zealand. Today, I want to present Peru as an important and reliable specialty coffee supplier in the world, fulfilling the most demanding markets like these ones. Let me start highlighting that 250,000 households from most remote areas in Peru depends economically of this industry and carry a very long experience growing unique specialty coffees, where men and lately women are more involved. In fact, it's important to say that the women, Hilda Leguía González, won the 2020 Cup of Excellence a week ago with the geisha variety grown in Cusco. Living in Australia for a while, I have learned about the importance of the coffee in the Australian lifestyle and the quality the consumers look for. In regard to the quality of the coffees, I want to give you 2 important messages. The first one is that our different altitudes make coffee something very special. 99% of the world coffee beans in the 4th edition of Cup of Excellence in Peru have been grown over 1,800 meters above the sea level. Secondly, farms belong to families, so roasters and importers have the possibility to work with small groups for any project you may have. Growers are always very keen to learn and to work. On the other hand, I would also like to highlight that Peru and Australia signed a free trade agreement that is currently in force since February of this year. Coffee beans, of course, is part of the list. In the midst of this unprecedented year, where you cannot travel to Peru, we can put you in contact with Peruvian growers from our office in Sydney. Also help to get some samples, arrange some virtual meetings with suppliers, or eventually buy some coffee beans. We do organize coffee missions to Peru once a year, so when the time is right, we might visit the coffee growing areas together. This event represents a milestone of a partnership journey between growers and Australian stakeholders of the coffee industry, with the aim to support each other in the future. Thank you very much, and hope you enjoy today's sensory journey to coffees from Peru.
Very well spoken. Next up, we're going to transport you to the land of Peru, where you get to meet Richard Jaramillo. He's the director of Facial Coffee S.A.C in Peru, and we're going to learn about the growing processes, the storage and export logistics. Now, Richard graduated in accounting and specialisation in coffee and cacao growing. Business management is what he specialised in, but he's now a producer at one of the plantations, and he's a connoisseur of the entire supply chain of specialty coffees, along with being a certified international taster. Now, please remember, questions are on the sidebar over here, but before then, let's go over to Peru. Say good day to Richard.
Hola, Richard.
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo está, don Mario? Gracias por la oportunidad. Bueno, saludos para nuestros amigos de Nueva Zelanda y Australia. Gracias a Perú por la organización de este evento. Bueno, quería comentarles un poquito de la industria cafetalera en Perú. En Perú hemos desarrollado un gran crecimiento en calidad ya hace mucho más de 10 años. Comentarles que contamos con diferentes microclimas, con diferentes zonas geográficas, contamos con mucha altura. Nuestros cafés se producen desde los 1200 hasta los 2000 metros sobre el nivel del mar, lo cual esa altitud ayuda a obtener cafés de muy buena calidad. Otro punto a favor de nosotros es que en la actualidad los productores manejan buenas cosechas, manejan buenos procesos, manejan diferentes tipos de fermentado, de almacenaje. Son productores que trabajan variedades finas. Es así que todo ese trabajo se ve reflejado en una buena taza, con tazas mucho mayores de 82, 84, 88 puntos, a los gustos del diferente tostador o importador. Detrás de ese trabajo de los productores hay muchas organizaciones, muchas cooperativas, mucha empresa privada, los cuales ellos tienen ya personal capacitado. Cada cooperativa maneja 2 o 3 catadores certificados por ley, cuenta con 5 o 6 ingenieros agrónomos certificados Q Processing 1 y Q Processing 2, lo cual todo ese conocimiento le llevan al productor para que el productor experimente, haga diferentes trabajos, y ese trabajo se resume en ¿qué? En que el mismo productor ya hace separación de lotes, ya sabe qué lote tiene cierto perfil de taza, cierto puntaje, y él mismo va haciendo una preselección. Después de eso llega la empresa o organización, lo cual hace el mismo trabajo, cata los lotes, va separando por perfiles, por variedades, y va haciendo sus mezclas o sus blend, depende a la necesidad de cada importador. Otra ventaja que yo he visto mucho en Perú es que somos vistos como un buen café, y eso se ve reflejado en que diferentes importadores de muy buena calidad están llegando acá a Perú a poner sus propios almacenes, sus propias bodegas, para ellos acopiar los cafés directamente de algunos productores o de empresas privadas. Pero eso se refleja que como país estamos creciendo en calidad. Somos empresas, somos productores, somos cooperativas que trabajamos al 100% calidad. Comentarles que también ha ayudado mucho el tema de la tecnología. Un productor en la actualidad maneja smartphone, tiene diferentes redes sociales, tiene Facebook, tiene Instagram, por lo cual ellos siguen a diferentes productores de diferentes países, así como a tostadores, así como a importadores. ¿Para qué? Para ellos hacer las réplicas de todos los trabajos que ellos hacen. Tú te encuentras a un productor en finca haciendo fermentaciones anaeróbicas, fermentaciones con levaduras, fermentaciones prolongadas, lo cual hace años atrás era algo nuevo, y ahora lo realizan casi un gran porcentaje de productores que trabajan calidad. Aparte de eso, como Estado se han creado normas muy parecidas a las del SCAP, donde se norma y regula a los cafés por calidad. Es por eso que el crecimiento como país de cafés buenos ha aumentado mucho. Tú te vas a una cafetería europea, una cafetería estadounidense, y siempre en sus barras van a pedir un buen café peruano. Es por eso que yo a ustedes los incentivo a seguir consumiendo café peruano, a apostar por la caficultura peruana a comprar un buen café y darse cuenta que ustedes, al contribuir con esa compra, ustedes están apoyando a mejorar la calidad de vida de un productor. Y no se olviden de comprar café a la cooperativa Bosques Verdes. Un saludo. Gracias.
Gracias, thank you, Richard. Next, we head to Melbourne to hear from two roasters who have been importing coffee from Peru and why it is they love this bean. First up, we have Arian Aquana, Head of Coffee, and Darren Stinson next from Zest Coffee Roasters. They will be giving you their insights to their relationship with the Peruvian coffee growers. You there, Arian?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Over to you, my friend.
Thank you. I guess to us as coffee roasters, Peru is an amazing country to have a relationship with in terms of sourcing coffee in South America. As mentioned earlier by Mario, Peru has got the perfect growing condition in South America due to the geographical location. Like if you go to the north of Peru, to Cajamarca region, you can have access to a lot of high quality with vibrant acidity coffees over there. And if you go to the Amazon region near San Martin area, you have access to lots of great quality coffees too that has got sort of mild acidity to low to medium body coffees with the chocolatey and nutty flavor. And if you go to the center of Peru in near Cusco region, again, you've got access to high quality coffees like similar to geisha coffees with floral and delicate body and vibrant acidity too. So as a coffee roaster, again, you've got access to the wide variety of coffee flavors and the diversity in the quality and the value of the coffee. So if you are looking to incorporate different coffees from Peru with different flavors and the quality, you can easily incorporate these kind of coffees into your coffee program so you can meet the demand of your customers. Same thing with us. We are looking to explore different coffees in Peru with different qualities and the value again. The other thing that I would like to mention is that, in my experience, especially the coffees that are coming from, Amazon region, they've got this unique cola-like or with phosphoric acidity sweetness, and which is quite unique to me. And I've never tasted this kind of cola-like flavor in the coffees in the other regions in South America or even Central America. Again, the other thing that I would like to mention is about the coffee producers in Peru. In my experience, there are so many young and enthusiastic coffee producers that they are looking, as mentioned by Mario again, to improve the quality of their coffee and learn in improving the drying the coffee and processing the coffee. So that's a fantastic opportunity for coffee roasters to build a relationship with these coffee producers and go exploring even further. I think that's it from me, and I pass it on to my colleague, Darren. Over to you, Darren.
Thank you so much, Arian. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you to everyone participating in this event this morning. I'm sure that many of you will see it as somewhat of a celebration and a blessing to get a cupping spoon back in your hands. But more importantly, it's great that we can use this platform to bring the coffee community together and highlight amazing producers and growers who ultimately do the important groundwork that allows us to have such a vibrant and thriving coffee industry here in Australia and further afield. So just to give you a little background on Zest's connection with Peru, since 2017, we have partnered and worked directly with Cooperativa Bosques Verdes on the ground at origin. As Richard mentioned, BV is a medium-sized co-op located in the Cajamarca region on the northern tip of Peru, and they are connected with around 252 smallholder farming families. So for us, we've spent both the 2017 and 2018 harvest working with individual farmers, investing both in microlot creation programs and delving into improving the fermentation and post-harvest processing of the coffees. For this, it's also given us the opportunity to invest financially in the drying facilities at a number of different farms in the region, both building raised African beds and sourcing fermentation tanks and providing vital instruments like pH meters, temperature readers, and Brix refractometers, all in the aid to improving the cupping scores of their coffees. with the goal in mind to coax out extra complexity and sweetness in the coffees. And I guess for us, over the last 4 years, we've been exceptionally pleased with both the stellar improvements in copying scores of the lots we've purchased, but also how they managed to make that happen. So for Bosque Verdes in particular, they have a dedicated sensory team with a number of Q graders on site to meticulously cup hundreds of samples per day. BB also employ a number of agronomists, which is hugely valuable resource to help educate smallholders to implement the best possible crop management systems for their farms. But most of all, and what I see personally, is a dedication of the coffee professionals in Peru to deeply love working with coffee and wanting to constantly improve and strive to learn more every day. Coffee producers in Peru have been able to triumph adversity on many fronts, from adverse weather conditions, devastating leaf rust outbreaks, and being able to, being subject to extremely low international coffee prices. So they're very humble and resilient folks who will keep striving to do better year after year. And as Arian so rightly stated, Peru ticks all the necessary boxes that any green bean buyer or roaster would look for. High altitude grown coffees, amazing varietals, and huge potential to compete with its neighboring partners in Colombia and Brazil. So I guess, and to sum it up, our goal is to keep investing in our Peruvian coffee partnerships and to spread the word to other roasters and importers alike to make Peru a core part of their coffee program. Over to you, Rupert.
Now we're going to dial into Joop Verbeek. He is the founder of IncaFé Organic Coffees in New Zealand. Now he's going to be sharing his experience of working with Peruvian coffee growers as well, and what is so unique about the growing process for him. Joop, are you there, my friend?
Yes, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me all right?
I can indeed.
Cool. And there's my presentation. All right, well, welcome everybody. It's great being here, and I certainly support all the previous words that have been said by the other presenters. Very true. Quick introduction. I'm Dutch by origin. I married a Peruvian wife and a Peruvian lady in the mid-90s when I was living there, and she introduced me to coffee growing. We started IncaFé Organic Coffee back in 2003 when after we emigrated here in 2000. Since 2006, we work very closely with a small organic cooperative called Coop JB, and the main man behind it is Felix Marin, and we represent them in Australia, New Zealand, and in Asia. All three of us are extremely passionate about coffee. We've been drinking it at a young age, passionate about organics, and very passionate about Peru. It's an amazing country, very biodiverse. Most biodiverse place in the world, and it was a logical consequence that we ended up doing organic coffee from Peru. Before I want to talk about why Peru is so unique, I just want to say a few words about organic growing and why it's so great for coffee. First of all, organic growing creates plants with strong root systems, and the roots have better access to water and nutrition, which makes them stronger and in general tastier. Organic coffee needs companion trees, which the trees provide shade, a little bit of shade, which protects the berries from extreme heat and too much direct sunlight, and creates a more gradual growth. The trees, very importantly, provide nutrients to the topsoil in the form of leaves and fruits, and it provides habitat for birds that control insects. So they do a lot of good things. The soil with a high biomass and the trees that trap moisture and allow plants access to continuous constant water, which helps again gradual growth and gradual development of flavors. Now, if you've got many forested plantations, you of course quickly get a microclimate in mountains, valleys, and that then protects the whole area from extreme weather events, in particular droughts that are happening more and more. So it shields again the coffee from growth bursts. Very importantly, and often still underestimated, is the benefit of trees to prevent topsoil erosion, which is a massive problem in all mountainous areas with high incidental rainfall. And that's where most coffee is grown. So yeah, trees are important to stop topsoil erosion. There's, of course, many other benefits from the organic growing, not directly maybe impacting the taste of the coffee, but of course it promotes biodiversity, it allows companion cropping, it protects drink water source, and most of all, of course, organic growing with a lot of trees form important carbon sinks, and we need more of those in the world. So why is Peru so great for organic growing and heirloom growing? Most plantations a lot of plantations are still organic. A lot of coffee plantations are at high altitude in forested mountainous areas. And if trees or shrubs would be removed, it would be quickly exposed to high soil erosion. And luckily, many Peruvian coffee growers are aware of that, and they keep their trees, which is very important for the quality. So the high altitude in Peru of many of the growing areas, the relatively rich soil, and in general the high level of forestation of plantations, and very importantly, Peru is on the rain side of the Amazon, so you've got a massive Amazon basin, and the Andes stop all the clouds. So Peru has quite good rainfall all the time. It's quite reliable. And it makes Peru a very prominent source of high-end organic coffee, and in fact, high-end heirloom species that prefer manual maintenance and manual cropping. And luckily, since we started working in 2006, it was quite bland, to be honest, the offering from Peru. We started working with natural processing and honey processing and harvesting by variety. And it's really taken off in Peru. You see it more and more. And leaf rust did a huge amount of damage. But luckily, a lot of coffee growers are going back to specialty heirloom species. And indeed, Caia is now everywhere. A lot of Typicas coming back. Catuai is grown in many places. Caturra, Bourbon. So yeah, there's huge potential to grow high-end, high value-added coffees that prefer manual and organic conditions. I wanted to finish this presentation with a few shots of plantations. This is typically what you see in Chanchamayo. It's one of the most forested coffee growing areas in the world. What I've been told by buyers from much bigger coffee companies. It's very nice, and it's very consistent in supply. It's been supplying coffee since the late 1870s, and never had really a crop failure. The next picture is actually to show the mountainous areas, and I took this picture back in 2011. It's near Cusco, and you can see in the background the snow tops of the Cordillera Sur, and those tops are 6,000 meters high. So it just shows the rugged area. And as it happens, this is the IncaFé area where the Cup of Excellence winner comes from. And it's amazing, beautifully area, but you can see how mountainous it is. And in fact, if you walk here 2 days, you end up at Choqquequirao, which is probably the second most famous Inca ruin in Peru. It's a beautiful area, and it just shows how the altitude and ruggedness. Hopefully you get a taste of coffee growing in Peru, and like what the other presenters have said, I really sincerely hope people will look for specialty coffees from Peru and improve the prices, because the farmers really are doing it rough there. And Peru has a fairly high cost because it is so remote, and the coffee has to go to the coast, so there's a lot of transport costs. So the low prices don't help, unfortunately. But yeah, it's an amazing country with amazing potential. Thank you.
Very heartfelt. Love looking at the photos, and hopefully you're developing some sort of insight to what the Peruvian coffee offers to, of course, people in Australia, in New Zealand, and any grower for that matter. Now, as we get ready for our live cupping session, we're going to show you a small video about a sensory map of Peruvian coffee.
Los cafés especiales son cafés que tienen características distintivas. En Perú la cosecha de cafés especiales viene de junio a septiembre.
Cuando tú hables del café de Perú, tú me tienes que decir, no como antes norte, centro y sur, ¿no? Nosotros tenemos 11 regiones con los mejores climas del mundo, los mejores suelos del mundo, y eso va a hacer que nuestro café sea de especialidad.
Ya teníamos la estrategia de promoción, teníamos la marca, teníamos la guía de promoción, sin embargo no contábamos con un mapa de calidad.
Podrían ubicar y zonificar de mejor manera los perfiles, las altitudes, las variedades, la producción.
Un mapa sensorial es una representación gráfica de los diferentes perfiles de café que tienen nuestros diferentes departamentos o regiones productoras. Y esto va a ser complemento con la marca Cafés del Perú.
Se pidió el apoyo de los catadores locales para que determinen perfiles que sean característicos de su región y manden muestras representativas de cada región.
El catador evalúa sensorialmente los atributos, los sabores del café.
Evaluar cafés de diferentes zonas o diferentes perfiles, te das con la sorpresa que hay un mundo de sabores en el café.
Yo le he puesto
Encontré un herbal ligero. Manzana, sí, efectivamente.
Este mapa nos va a ayudar a poner en valor toda esa variabilidad, digamos, que existe en los cafés del Perú, ¿no? Entonces supone una herramienta de promoción sumamente importante porque además va a permitir poder orientar a los potenciales consumidores a aquel café que específicamente puede estar buscando.
Estamos para satisfacer mercados exigentes. Ya teniendo este mapa se va a tener que llegar a mercados quizá que están solicitando cafés de origen con ciertos atributos, ¿no? Porque ya se conoce un mapa de sabores.
Detrás de esa calidad hay mucho esfuerzo, mucho trabajo, porque está involucrado familias enteras.
We now move to our live cupping session with Melissa Caia. Now, Melissa has more than 18 years of industry experience and is a specialist barista trainer at William Angliss Institute. She will be conducting the live cupping session alongside Arian from Zest Coffee. Now, if you're one of the first 50 people to register for this event in Australia and the first 20 in New Zealand, you should have received a cupping set including 3 coffee beans as well as a gift. Now, it's best to get that out and follow along with Melissa now. So the types of beans that are produced in Peru you'll be tasting today are Caturra, Catamor, Bourbon and Peixe. If you didn't receive one of these, you can still follow along and you can order the samples from Mario afterwards. But Mel, right now, it's over to you.
Thank you, Rupert. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our live cupping. Before we start grinding our samples, give you guys an opportunity to get yourself organised, make sure you've got your samples out ready for grinding, get your water ready, making sure that your hot water is nearby, and we'll be sampling very soon. So the first coffee, as Rupert was saying, is our Finca Don Nolasco Sima yeast process. The second coffee is the Finca Don Nolasco Intenso, and the third coffee today is our Geisha coffee from Chanchamayo. So we're going to head over to grind, so you guys can do the same while we're grinding. So we will grind and then start brewing very shortly. So here we go. We'll start grinding sample number 1, and obviously, I'm only tasting today, so I'm going to do just a traditional taste. We're just sampling 1 coffee from 1 cup.
So those first 2 samples you've got there this morning as well, Mel, they're from northern Peru. So those are both the Chima yeast 24-hour fermentation. The third coffee that we've got there as well today is from IncaFé Organic Coffees. That's going to be our third one. And then don't open the fourth coffee that we've given you yet. Save that one for a rainy day. That's a little gift. As you're doing this prep here today, Mel, I might just talk about the fermentation, but you jump in at any point. The altitude for the first coffee that we're going for today, it was actually harvested at 1,700 to 1,750 metres above sea level. This Chima yeast fermentation is 24 hours. What we do is we take the depulped beans and transfer them to a fermentation tank. The Chima yeast is then added to the tank at a ratio of about 1 gram to 1 kilogram of pulped coffee. And then we seal it, ferment it for 24 hours, and then we measure it through the pH and the temperature. These readings help us understand just how fast the yeast is rising and what bacteria is consuming the sugars. Now these beans were washed, moved, and then placed on the African beds to be raised. How you going there, Mel?
Good. I was just going to let everybody know, make sure once they've ground their samples, just to have a bit of a smell. Take note of your fragrance of your 3 samples. So my left side here, probably your right side on screen, is the coffee sample 1. In the middle, I have coffee sample 2, and on my right is coffee sample 3. Just so that we're all tasting the same products and talking about the same coffees. Brilliant. I'm about to start brewing with some water.
Go for it.
And just use the ambidextrous pour. Here we go.
And you've got about 3 minutes sitting time for these coffees now before you can break, or are you going to break first?
Yeah. No, 3 to 4 minutes first, just to let that coffee brew.
Brilliant. So I'll talk about our second sample that we've got there. This is coffee number 2. It's from northern Peru as well. The brand here is called Intenso Yeast 24-hour Fermentation, another Don Nolasco from our producer. The location is San Ignacio, and the flavour notes you'll be tasting in the second coffee is red apple, red plum, and 75% that dark chocolate. Very nice and rich. The varietal is red bourbon and yellow caturra. And the process that was used here is washed and Chima yeast 24-hour fermentation again, but a bit differently. The altitude it was harvested at, again, is 1,700 to about 1,750 metres above sea level. It's an intenso yeast fermentation process. And what they do here is the cherry is first skinned and then it is removed, put into a depulping machine. The wet parchment is transferred to the fermentation tank with spring water, and it's then added. The coffee is then submerged, and the Intenso yeast is added at a ratio of 1 gram to 1 kilogram of coffee again. The tank is then sealed for an anaerobic fermentation, and after 24 hours, the coffee is removed and washed before being transferred to the drying beds again. Our third coffee that we've got on Mel's right is in fact from central Peru. Now this one is from IncaFé Organic Coffee, so our friend Jupe. The producer is Coop Chibi, which is a cooperative over in Peru itself. The variety, it's a geisha. The process is natural, and the flavour notes you'll sort of be tasting this one are very smooth with notes of orange, strawberry, jasmine and honey. Now the region is Chanchanmaya and Junin, and the process here is natural, again harvested a little higher this time at about 18,000 metres above sea level. Now, I'll talk about it. You feel free to jump in whenever you need, Mel. Our fourth coffee that we've given you guys today, we've given you pretty much a varietal from north, central and south. So this will be our southern Peru coffee, and it's our last sample we give to you as a gift. So this comes again from south, but we want you to save it for a rainy day so you're not tasting it here. The producer is Coop Chibi again. It's a varietal, a Typica Bourbon, and the process is washed. The flavour notes you'll be tasting in this one is a balanced coffee with notes of raspberry, sweet plum, and black tea. And the region here is Gualibamba. My pronunciation was probably terrible, but you'll get it there. And the altitude it was harvested at is between about 1,500 metres to 1,900 metres above sea level. How you going there, Mel?
Good, we're almost there. We've probably got a minute, and hopefully all the viewers at home or at work are fairly similar. So in a couple of minutes, we'll be ready to taste. Or first of all, we'll be breaking the coffee. So where we just break through the crust, stir the coffee 3 times and get really close to that first aromatic. And so once we've done that, we can then sample. So we've just got a couple of minutes to go.
No, that's fine, no hassle at all. Just for the viewers at home, remember the Q&A over to our right-hand side if you've got any questions. Some important things to ask. A lot of people do look at the harvest times of year. When is the coffee best harvested and best actually roasted as well, for that matter? We'll have a chat. Any questions you may have, of course, we are in trying times right now with COVID, so if there's any questions you may have for any of our guys, they're all going to be on the line at the end of this one as well. Coffee in Peru, it's been a very important, a very tough time for the farmers over there as well. As Dupe was saying, the price is very low for these guys getting over. So you've heard from a lot of our viewers and a lot of the guys who have already made the switch over to Peru in the last few years. And what you'll probably understand is it's more than just buying coffee now. You're buying into a culture, you're buying into a tourism place where you get to go see and essentially taste the coffee and bring it back to this world, bring it back to Australia for tasting as well. So as Mel's now, you're just breaking the coffee?
Yep, so we're ready, just breaking.
Great. And so what are you looking to do when you break the coffee there? Is it just to smell the aromatic?
Break the crust, give it a stir so that you're combining and really get into that first aromatic part of the coffee. It's probably the best part of the coffee.
Yep.
And ideally now I'm just going to clean the crust off, so we'll just take off that top layer. So everybody at home, you will need just like an empty bowl nearby.
Brilliant.
And I've got my cups ready to go. So you'll need 2 spoons just to clean off that top layer so we don't taste that top layer, so we can get into the real liquid.
And coffee actually became a flagship product in Peru in 2008, and since then it's become their 4th largest export. So in the last few years you've seen huge, tremendous growth. It's actually expanded since farmers over there, like Richard himself on one of the plantations, was saying that the growth of coffee in the last few years has just been enormous, so much to the point that we've had people like Mario and Raphael here in Sydney have to set up office so that way they could facilitate just how much demand is actually occurring here in Australia and New Zealand for that matter. Great. So the tasting notes here on those ones. Over to your first one on our first sample there. Are you going for a taste now, Mel?
No, it's still a little bit too early because it's still a little bit too hot.
What
so I don't
smells
want to kill
are you?
My taste buds.
No, that's all right. You tell me what you're smelling there in that first sample.
So we've got really light notes of cereal and honey in that first sample. This is obviously in the aromatics. We have some nuts and other sort of fruit acidity coming through in the second coffee. And our third coffee has strong notes of like peach or fruit tea, or like an apricot, like a stone fruit, like a mild stone fruit in the aromatics.
And the grinding process you guys did at the start, I know you had it all preset. Is there any time to sit for to allow it to breathe, or do you just pour straight away?
No, you want to grind fresh and brew close to grinding time.
Yeah, no, fantastic. In terms of mixing these coffees, we were chatting, Mario and I were chatting a little earlier before about what best goes with a flat white in Australia. Pretty much every second person likes to have their coffee with milk. So from your experience with Peruvian coffees, what do you feel is the best way to have a Peruvian specialty coffee?
Honestly, I'm a little bit biased and I prefer to drink black coffee, and I really enjoy experiencing the unique characteristics of coffee through just water and coffee. I think milk is obviously, it's a strong beverage that we have here. A lot of people love drinking milk in coffee, but for us as a coffee professional, this is where you get to taste the true flavour of coffee. And just the complexity, the differences that you can, just even these 3 samples, just the 3 differences across the 3 samples is amazing, given it's all from, okay, different growing regions and different altitudes and different processing. It's incredible when you really look at coffee quite closely and how unique it can be and how much you can work with it. But for us coffee purists, it's definitely no milk. Sorry to most of us. However, if you were to There's nothing wrong with saying that you can enjoy this with a little bit of milk as well. Be quite tasty, very delicate, very light, very floral, fruity, so quite pleasant with milk as well.
With your professional tasting nose and mouth, can you tell the difference when you've brewed these coffees before from what is a central Peruvian coffee, a northern Peruvian, or a southern Peruvian, or are you not that well equipped yet?
Sometimes it depends. Sometimes you can. Often you see more clarity with processing techniques, so the different influences of processing. And obviously the different varietals will present different characteristics as well. So often you can definitely taste the difference across those aspects.
Great. Fermentation, do you know how long that's sort of been around for and how long they've been doing that in Peru? Particularly with what you're tasting those first two?
Not particularly, not for myself, but perhaps Mario or Darren will have more information.
No, that's right.
About...
I was just thinking more about the tasting notes, particularly after they've gone through that fermentation. What our viewers are going to be actually tasting on their tongues today versus what IncaFé does down the end there as well. Mario, I might jump you in here, mate. We might do a bit of a Q&A. If you want to talk a little bit about the harvest process. So when is the ideal time to harvest coffee?
Actually, we have different regions where Peru grows coffee beans. So we have 11 regions, and there are like different harvest seasons. So maybe starting at the beginning of June and finishing at the end of the year.
Is that your summer?
No, our summer is more or less similar to Australia.
Okay, right. Yeah, so we follow that same.
Yeah.
When you're doing in those 11 regions, when you're harvesting, how quickly are they getting? I usually call it the paddock to plate, or in this case, plantation to bag process.
No, they need to put in bags.
Yep.
And then to supply to each buyer, because they have special commitments. And this is the hard part sometimes with the importer or the roaster don't know exactly from where they want to bring the coffee beans. So that's why we normally do organize missions to Peru to connect each other. And then after a year, maybe we can supply the products for them.
Right. So most of these guys, a few of your customers, I guess, like Jupe and also Darren and the boys, their process was quite seamless, they were saying, and it's been something they've become passionate about. How quickly did they jump on board and start getting their green beans roasted?
Yeah, no, it takes time. People prefer to roast in Australia all the beans.
Yep.
So, but the way that I heard that companies work with the growers in Peru, they first they travel to Peru. They have a conversation with the growers, and they teach them, or they have conversation how to ferment the products or how to dry the beans, and then they can assure the quality of the coffee beans.
Yeah, brilliant. We'll jump back to Mel whenever she's ready, but we'll start a bit of our Q&A here. You're still going there, aren't you?
No,
great.
We can taste, so hopefully everybody else is now ready to taste, yeah.
Brilliant. All right, so take us through it. So your first one there when you're tasting?
So my first coffee here, just going to dip my spoon in, take a sample on my cupping spoon. Sorry, I can't talk when my mouth's full.
No, that's all right, that's right. So that first one's...
Take a little sample, kept it in my mouth. It's very, it's quite juicy. It reminds me of a fruit tea, so it's nice and juicy, quite clean. Really lovely acidity coming through with this coffee as well. So you've got some really lovely bright acidity, or even like a malic acidity. It's quite tasty. I'll just do... Great, quite delicious. I'll move over to coffee number 2, just so that I can taste it at the right temperature. Lots of green lime, apple, some citric acidity. So it's quite, again, a different type of acidity. So you get a very different flavour. Coffee number 3.
IncaFé organic coffee from Coop Chibi producers.
Lots of cacao nibs and kind of soft pronounced, we say yellow fruits, but we're really looking at sort of like a stone fruit or peach.
And that rich honey that they had in there as their flavour notes as well.
And there is some light floral. It's more of a floral honey. So when you're looking at honey, because it's so broad, you really want to sort of specify the type of honey. So it's quite a floral light honey, not a real rich dark honey.
And that's that Chanchamayo region.
Yeah, so that's the coffee, the geisha from Chanchamayo.
In the central
Lovely.
Central Peru. You go for it.
Really, no, I was going to say really tasty, but what I'd like to do is just leave it for a couple of minutes if that's okay, and then taste again if we've got time.
No hassle. We'll go back and do our Q&A. So if we've got some questions on our Q&A up here right now. We've got everyone online right now, I think. So if you've got a question, we'll throw to them if it's specific. But our first question is, how is quality controlled with the production ramp up? That's from Robert Holmes. Might jump you back in here as well, Mario. How has quality ramped up since essentially it's been going on through harvest time? How have you coped with the demand?
Growers need to, we have people that know how to select the grades.
Yes.
We have special norms in Peru that match exactly with the SCA rules or regulations. So this is the important thing that we are managing, trying to assure the quality of the beans.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things with quality control is very important, the monitoring on that side. When it comes to Australia, does it go through a process as well here? I mean, like you're getting growers who are getting green beans. Through the roasting process, of course, it can change the flavour of these beans and whatnot. Is there recommendations over in Peru of how best to roast, or is it up to the roasters themselves?
No, it's up to the roaster, because the roasters knows what they know what the customers they look for. So there are different flavors for different customers. So this is something very important to say.
For these particular coffees that all of our viewers are tasting today, we want to know when they've actually been roasted. So we had 2 there for the first 2 samples, the Intenso and Shima yeast. When were they roasted?
They were roasted a week ago.
A week ago, so they're quite fresh.
Yeah, but that's very important.
Brilliant. And Jupe, have we got Jupe on the line at all?
Yes,
yeah,
Jupe.
So we tasted, yours was the 3rd sample that we've been tasting here today. When would that have been roasted?
3 weeks ago. We find that the geisha, it sits really well and it develops flavor up for months, to be honest. So it's certainly better after 2 weeks and not too fresh.
Brilliant. So when you guys were coming up with the roasting process for that particular bean, was there a lot of trial and error, or did you know straight away what you were going to do with that particular green bean when it arrived?
Well, this particular coffee came straight out of the container. It just arrived and we roasted it. I did a single shot at it. But yeah, we've been playing with it since 2012. It took us a while to what we think is the best roasting profile for it. So yeah, a lot of trial and error.
Yeah. Organic coffee, Mario, it's a very big thing. Last year you became 2nd in the world. And exporting organic coffee. Why is organic coffee such a big thing?
The growers are very concerned or very worried about not only to produce the best quality, but also to think about the sustainability issue. So this is a matter of that the growers are always looking for.
Yeah, sustainability's become a tremendous part of how we grow in Australia as well. We call it integrated pest management. Is it growing with chemicals?
Yeah.
Is there much chemical farming over in Peru now?
No, not really, because we, as you said before, we are number 2 exporting in the world, exporting organic products.
How early has it, or how quick in the race has it become for you guys next to your neighbours such as Brazil and whatnot and producing coffee, that you guys have wanted to really jump on board and be the leader in this market?
We are trying not to compete in quantity. We are trying to grow in the specialty coffee sector, because in the past maybe we were producing a lot in quantity, but now that's why in 2018 we launched this brand that is Coffee from Peru, Unique Specialties, in order to be in the market that is something very different, and we want to present different unique flavors.
How are you going over there, Mel, back in your studio?
Yeah, we should taste again.
Go for it, and then I'll ask another question before we finish up.
Cool. So
Great.
normally,
so what does... No, you go for it.
I would just suggest that normally, if those who are watching are familiar with cupping, you would taste it obviously a few times before you... And we like to taste it at different temperature points. So when it's first brewed, and then as it cools down, and often you'll see perhaps some new flavours pop, or some acidity reaches out.
So that's about 5, 6 minutes sitting time that we've left it for there. And has it changed all of those samples drastically, do you find, or is it quite similar or more intense?
They're quite similar. They're quite good. So the sweetness is really pronouncing more so as it's cooling, and the acidities are balancing out. So the cups are starting to hold very well, and they've still got the similar kind of tasty notes in terms of flavors and fruit characteristics that we had at the first taste. So it's quite delicious.
Brilliant. So hopefully if you guys are at home and you're tasting these ones, remember you can, if you didn't receive the live cupping sessions today, write into the Q&A or contact us afterwards, where Mario will be answering all your questions as well after this live stream finishes. We can send you one so you can have a sample taste of all these as well. One more question that we have, are all of these coffees currently available, and what type of stock levels do they have? I might throw that one to you, Mario, if you want to jump back on. So yeah, are all these coffees currently available? We have one which is an announcement of our last green bean, which will be the winner of that one. That one's not currently available, but these 3 today?
There are some that are available. There are not available others, but the point is that this year was something very special because the problem that we had all over the world. But normally, if someone could be interested to know more about our beans, you can contact us from Peru in Australia. So all the information is in the webpage. If you can scroll down and have a look in our contact details.
Brilliant. We might do a little wrap up. I'm going to move now over to our kilogram bag of San Cristobal. Is that all you've got for us today as well, Mel?
Yeah, I'll just say I hope everyone has enjoyed the cupping experience with me as well. I can't see perhaps what you're doing, but hopefully you've enjoyed the coffees as much as I have. And don't forget you've got that little spare secret sample to taste for your tomorrow morning's coffee. And good luck to the prize winner that you're about to promote, to tell them all about.
Well, yes, he got in very quickly. So the kilogram bag winner of our green washed bean from San Cristobal is Kevin Cruz. So he typed in very fast. We'll be contacting him very soon. Just make sure you throw in your delivery address so we can all visit you and taste it as well. There'll be a recording of this video if you had friends who didn't get to watch it or they were working today, on demand on this channel for the next month. So if you'd like to purchase any coffees as well, please reach out, contact Mario. Mario, jump back on, matey, because I'm going to get you here to say thank you so much. On behalf of the team here at Coffees from Peru, just wanted to say a massive thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much to Mario.
Thank you, Rupert.
Our friends overseas, Jupe in New Zealand, our team down in Melbourne, Mel, Arian and Darren at home, thank you so much.
And Richard.
And Richard over the other side of the world. He's probably gone to sleep now. It's weird for him. Thank you so much for everyone joining in. If you're looking for any coffees that essentially you've heard of today, make sure you jump online, get in contact with us. Thanks so much to our team, and we'll see you all next time.